Hi, my name is Jill. I am going to share some exercises with you today that I am hopeful help you with your movement confidence, your balance enhancement, and falls prevention. First thing that I would like to do with you, and I'd love for you to participate along at the same time, is to do a little bit of an assessment of your balance to find out how is your balance? How do you feel about doing some balance exercises? Is your balance solid? Are you confident? Or is everything a little bit shaky? You'll find out in just a minute as we do these very, very simple assessments. So the very first thing that I want you to do, I'm going to ask you to do 4 different poses or stances. And we are going to see how long you can maintain your balance in that particular stance. So the very first stance that I want you to do is I want you to take your feet and I want you to put them right together. So if you can see my feet, you will notice that there is no daylight in between. I've squished them together, put a little glue, sealed it tight, okay? Now, that might be a little bit shaky for you. You might feel a little bit wobbly because you're used to standing with your feet a little bit farther apart. But for this stance, we're gonna squish them together. And so you may need a chair right alongside of you to help you get stabilized to start. When I say go, I want you to take your hand off of anything that you might be holding, and we are going to see if you can maintain this stance for at least 10 seconds or more. All right? On your mark, get set, go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,006, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. You can separate your feet if you'd like to. If you were able to maintain that stance, then your balance is pretty solid. However, the next couple stances that we're gonna do are gonna get a little bit more difficult, and you're gonna feel really wiggly and wobbly, and you might need to grab a hold of something, or you might step out of the particular stance that I had you start with. If those things happen, that should be an aha moment that you definitely need to practice and improve your balance. The second stance that I'm gonna have, or pose that I want you to have with your feet, is the same thing where your feet are squished together, but one foot is slightly forward of the other. So just a little bit of a stride, but squish your feet together. I chose my right foot forward. It doesn't have to be. You might want to try with your left foot a little bit more forward. See where you feel a little bit more confident or stronger in your pose. So you decide, and again, you might need to hang on just to get yourself situated. But when I say go, I want you to remove your hand and balance in space, okay? Did you figure out what foot is forward? On your mark, get set, go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Were you able to maintain your stance, or did you step out? Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more. The next pose that I want you to do is I want you to take one foot directly in front of the other. Your toe and your heel definitely need to touch to each other. Notice I am holding onto the chair right now to get myself confident and situated. All right, so decide, do you want your right foot forward or your left foot forward? It's irrelevant, you decide. And when I say go, you're gonna let your hand off whatever you're holding to stabilize you. Are you ready? On your mark, get set, go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 7, 8, 9, 10. Were you able to last at least 10 seconds? I hope so. If not, we'll talk about ways that you can improve that. Did you feel your toes moving around a little bit inside of your shoes, and maybe your lower legs, the muscles in your lower legs got really jittery and wiggly and wobbly? Don't feel bad about that if you sense those things, because that is your body accommodating and adjusting to try to be a better balancer, and that's a good thing. All right, one more pose I'm going to have you try. This one is one-legged, so you are going to completely take one foot off the floor. And you can leave your knee up like I did, you could tuck it to the back, but it's not to, that lifted side is not to touch anything else, okay? So I'm holding on to start myself, but again, we're gonna try the same 10-second test. On your mark, get set, go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 7, 8, 9, 10. And step down. Hopefully you found 10 seconds of success with any of those 4 poses. They got a little bit harder as you went along, I'm sure. So let's first of all talk about some strategies on how to be better. Let's say you did have to step your foot down within 10 seconds. That, like I said before, should be an aha moment that you do need to practice. You do need to improve your balance because you could be at risk of falling. And falling is not okay. Falling is something that many active older adults might not recover from. So we need to be stronger, okay? So I'm gonna give you some hints on how you can be a better balancer. One of the things that you can do is when you're in any of those poses or any of your balance exercises, you should softly bend your knees. Use your knees as if they were shock absorbers for your body. A little bit of bounce, a little bit of play. Do not lock your knees back into place, and that is something, unfortunately, we do a lot when we're standing still. So give yourself a soft knee bend, all right? The other thing that is very important is find yourself some long, tall, erect posture. Quite often we have very poor posture, and that is something that predisposes us to falling as well. Most of the things that we do in our day happen in the front of our body. We read, we do our daily tasks, and we have this forwardness or roundedness about our body. And this tends to give us very weak back muscles, shoulder muscles, and we have a weak core. That's probably a reason that we can't stand up straight. So what I want you to do is think about that. I'm gonna tie a pretend string to the top of your head, and I'm gonna come around and give you a little tug of that string. So I want you to lift and elongate yourself through your posture, as if you're just trying to reach the crown of your head to the heavens, all right? That will help you have this lift and elongation instead of this forward roundedness, okay? Another thing that helps you be a better balancer is if you take your arms out to the side when you're doing any of those exercises. Just like the circus performer that's on the tightrope carries this big long pole to help them balance on that narrow space. Our arms can be those outriggers to help us be better balancers, okay? Another pointer for you to be better balancer is make sure that you breathe. Sometimes when you're holding a position and you're focusing on something, we tend to hold our breath. Oxygen is what we take in when we breathe, and oxygen is so important to fuel your body for the things that your body needs to do. So make sure that you breathe. And two more points. One would be, think about where your belly button is, and I want you to think about pulling your belly button more towards the inner part of your body, which means you're going to engage your abdominal muscles. If you can keep your core nice and strong, you will be a better balancer. One more point that I want to share with you about being a better balancer is have a focal point when you're doing your exercises. I want you to stare somewhat downward and forward at an inanimate object. And that will help your center of balance to be shored up so that you can focus on that balancing pose that you were doing. So by doing some of those points, I know that you can be a better balancer. I also have another activity that I want to share with you that I call a falling strategy. Accidents happen, but what we want to do is we want to really minimize the impact that our body is going to have if we're going down, okay? So it could be that we're at the mall or we're at a concert, we're in an environment where it's very crowded and we get bumped and we just didn't expect it. Oh, we're going down, we're tripping, we're stumbling, we're falling. I'm about 5 feet 8 inches tall. If I were to fall from this height and hit the floor, that would be some significant impact for me to fall from this height. However, if I got myself lower to the ground and then went down, it's not going to be nearly as impactful. It's not going to hurt my body nearly as hard if I could get lower to the ground. So how do we get lower to the ground? There's a class that I teach at the Apple Creek YMCA, and it's a balance enhancement falls prevention program. We talk about low and wide. So there's an exercise that I have my students do, and I call it the clock exercise. And you're gonna see when we do the clock exercise how we are going to be low and wide and get us closer to the floor. So what I want you to do is visualize that there's a giant clock on the floor and you're standing right in the middle of it. What I want you to do is I want you to take your right leg and I want you to step out to 12 o'clock just with your right leg. So take that big step forward to 12 o'clock and then push yourself back. Now I want you to take a step out to 3 o'clock with your right foot. Step out and come back to the middle. Take a step to 6 o'clock with your right foot. First of all, before you do that, would you peek behind you and make sure that there is nothing behind you that could become a tripping hazard or a falling hazard to you. So when you decide that you've got a safe space around you, go ahead and step back to 6 o'clock and then come back. Then, how do you think we're gonna get to 9 o'clock? That's gonna be a little bit goofy, but it's an exercise that I call a curtsy. So what I want you to do is take your right foot very carefully, swing it and step behind and tap that foot out to 9 o'clock. It's a nice exercise for your spine and for your hips as well. And come back. Let's do the same thing on the left side. Go to 12 o'clock, push back, go to 9 o'clock, push back, go to 6 o'clock, push back, and here's the weird curtsy again. Curtsy to 3 o'clock. Good, be careful on that one, okay? So did you notice that each time I stepped out to those different portions of the clock, how my body got low and wide? I'm just gonna demonstrate again to 3 o'clock. So look at out to 3 o'clock. I'm not 5 feet 8.5 inches tall anymore. Now I'm more like 4 feet tall. So let's just say that I was in that circumstances where it was crowded and I got bumped and I'm going down. Here's the strategy that we want to do. So I'm going down, this is all slow motion, and I'm not gonna fall to the floor. I'm not gonna make you practice to fall to the floor. But if your brain and your body could remember low and wide, this is gonna help prevent injury. So I'm getting bumped on this side. I'm going down, low and wide. Did you see? I just stepped out to 3 o'clock, like we just did the clock exercise. And let's just say I was continuing to go to the floor. Here are some things that I want you to think about as you are moving your way to the floor in a fall. Low and wide first. Tuck your chin so that you prevent your head from slamming back and hitting the floor violently. And then after you tuck your chin, roll through the fall so that you prevent there being one single spot that you're impacting the floor with. That could be very dangerous to the body parts. Hips and shoulders are the common breaks when people are going down. But if you kind of tuck and roll out of that fall, it really can help prevent injury. So think about the clock exercise as something that you train to do as an exercise, but in your mind, you're thinking low and wide, low and wide. That would be if I got bumped from the back, I'm going forward. If I get bumped on this side, oh, low and wide. If I get bumped from the front and I'm going back, low and wide. Gets me closer to the floor to help prevent injury or massive injury. A couple other fun balancing exercises that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to bring this chair back because you may absolutely need some kind of object to help you to stabilize your position until you're getting better and better and more confident in your balancing exercises. This first one is simply called a rocking horse, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my feet front to back in a stride position, and I'm gonna take my body weight forward, and I'm gonna stand in that front leg, but I'm gonna pick up my back. See, now I have a chair there, just in case that gets a little bit wobbly. But if you remember some of the other strategies that we use to be a better balancer, remember the hands out to the side? I can be a better balancer when my hands are out here, so I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna rock my body weight back, stand in my back leg, and pick up my front leg. Rock forward, pause, rock back, pause, rock forward, pause, rock back, pause. Now that rocking exercise, if I just went like this, that's really easy to do. But it's the pause part of it that's the tricky part, and that's where you get to be a better balancer. And you have to just practice and work on increasing the amount of time that you spend doing that. Obviously, you want to do it with the other foot forward with the same exercise. Do you know that you have a favorite side of your body that likes to do things first? If you don't know that about yourself, what I want you to do is I want you to walk up to a set of stairs and notice which foot steps up onto the step first. I can promise you that it will always be the same foot. We have that favorite side of our body that likes to do things first. Do you know that also predisposes us to injury and risk of falling? You need to practice letting the other side of your body do things first. So intentionally, the next time you come to the step, then you go, oh, I'm gonna step up with the other foot first. Here's a couple silly things that you can do to get your other side of the body behaving, doing these activities first. Do you know that you will probably always pick up your toothbrush with the same hand and brush your teeth with the same hand? Put it in the other hand. Or eat one of your meals with the utensil in the other hand. A silly thing is, we all have our devices that we send messages and emails to our friends. I imagine you always hold the device in one hand and may type or make messages with one hand. Try to do it the opposite way, but make sure you look at your message first before you send it, because there probably will be some typos. We probably get dressed the same way every day. I imagine that when you step your leg into your pants, you always put the same leg in first. Again, make it a game, make it something playful and fun, and ask the other side of your body to do those tasks first. That will help your body become more balanced instead of imbalanced with that favorite side always doing things first. Okay? Got another exercise for you. This one I call the starfish exercise. So I'm gonna spread my legs out, I'm gonna spread my arms out, and this is kind of like the rocking horse, but instead of forward and back, we're gonna go side to side. I'm gonna lift up that one leg. Remember the pause, the hold is the hard part. Tip over to the other side, lift and hold. Are you holding your breath? I imagine you are. Remember that I said breathing is something so important to help your body be better at your activities. Excellent. Do a couple of those. I'm gonna give you a little tip on being successful at some of these exercises. Sometimes lifting your leg up is just not gonna happen. You need something to hold on to. What I'm gonna ask you to do is think about a bicycle. Many of you have a bicycle that you ride, and hopefully you have this little device that you flip down. It's called a kickstand, and it's this little piece of metal that points to the ground and holds your bicycle straight up without falling. I'm gonna give you your own kickstand that you can use when you're practicing these exercises. So remember I said just a moment ago, tip over to the side and lift up that opposite leg? Well, maybe that's not gonna happen for you at the beginning of this exercise. Use your tippy toe on the floor like a kickstand, just the little tiny most bit of contact, and then shift to the other side. Use your tippy toe if you have to, or maybe your other kickstand might be your finger, and it could be that your finger is holding the wall to help you in your balance poses, okay? So try some of those little tips to help you get better and better and better at balancing poses, all right? Last thing I'm gonna share with you is an exercise that I call grains of sand. What I want you to do is visualize that you are opening the cabinet of your game, where all your games are. So when you have company come over and the family comes over, you pull out a game. You open up the box and there's a little tiny timekeeping device inside that game. It looks like a tiny little hourglass, and it's full of these little pieces of white sand, and you turn it over, and that's how long you get to take your turn, right? Okay. So what I want you to do is visualize those grains of sand, and I want you to fill up your right leg with all the grains of sand, and I want you to shift your body weight so that you're almost only standing with all your body weight in your right leg. I'm going to use my left toe as that little kickstand again, but all the grains of sand are in this leg. Now I'm going to do this exercise super slow, and that's the key point to this. What I want you to do is pick up your left foot, and I want you to step it out to the side super slow, and this is as if you were turning that timekeeping device over. So now the grains of sand are spilling through the hips, through the pelvis, and now trickling down into the left leg. Slow, slow, slow. And then I'm going to pick up my right leg and make that the kickstand. I'm going to turn the timekeeping device over again. So the grains of sand are going to spill out of my left leg, and they're going to trickle down into my right leg. Slow, 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 slow. I shift my body weight until all the grains of sand are in my right leg. All right? The slower, the better. You're going to feel lots of wiggles and wobbles in your legs as you do this exercise. But it's very, very important to use all those muscles and have that control as you're learning to be a better balancer. So I'm hopeful that as you did some of these activities with me today, you're gonna feel and find that you have more confidence in your movement, that you're gonna have better balance enhancement, and ultimately falls prevention. So I appreciate that you did some of these activities with me, and I hope that helps you out.